What is going on? I'm not even going to point out all the flaws I saw this time, but we're just going to run with it.
It wasn't a flaw this morning. I just noticed in your picture, Donnie, that it says Rover. I know it's the Drover Hotel, but it says Rover. Donnie's the Rover. Send him out there.
I like it. I like it. You know, people do some really stupid things. I had somebody reach out through LinkedIn, you know, had a long dialogue in the chats, ask me for an appointment, and then this morning had their assistant reach out and ask me for an agenda for the meeting. And I replied, I'm assuming we're networking, according to a LinkedIn conversation.
Wait, let me call my assistant. Let her know to change the word. I was just trying to get a hold of you.
So when I said that I thought we were networking, the assistant comes back and is like, yeah, we no longer take meetings that don't have an outlined agenda.
Oh,
I'm like, wait a minute.
Stop it.
You asked me. Hey, good morning, Caroline.
Hey, Caroline.
Yeah. You asked me for the fucking meeting. Now you tell me you're not going to take it because you have an agenda.
Fantastic.
Did they reply to that?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah. Let's just make this simple. I don't have time for this silly, stupid shit. So y'all have a great life.
I would take that entire interaction, post it on LinkedIn. So learning moment.
Yeah, that's a first. They ask for a meeting and then cancel because I don't have an agenda for their meeting. Just awesome.
That almost sounds like me being back in the corporate world.
Right?
The executives call me and we get there like, okay, you guys have the agenda. I'm like, you guys called this meeting. I don't even know what you need to be better prepared.
I'm thankful we're all gathered here today. You start. I mean, but we were talking about the legend of Wisconsin, you know, and the ability for Wisconsin people to throw back more volumes of alcohol than almost any place on the freaking planet Earth. Now, I will tell you, because Rob had a fun story behind the scenes about vodka and the Russians or whatever. I did freaking Times Square for the ball drop. And we had taken in handles of liquor because once you're in the cattle runs, right, you're not getting out. And we ran out of handles of liquor. And there was like 12, 13 of us. You end up partying with people from all over the world. These Russian guys next to us were like, no worries. We got vodka. And they pull out a bottle. And like every 10 minutes, they were like, we got vodka. And it's just every time we'd cap that bottle, they would pull out another. And I don't know where the hell they were pulling these bottles from, but they were flat out throwing them back. But Rob, why can Wisconsin guys throw back alcohol so damn much?
It's a cultural thing. It is a big. There's good German stock here. There's some Polish. You get a little bit of the Norwegian, Swedish thing. All three cultures heavily centered around alcohol consumption.
That's completely wrong. That's completely and 100% false. The reason they can drink so much is because there's nothing to fucking do.
Do here. Creative.
So, Wisconsin's one of the most depressed states in the United States, mainly because of the weather. Right, when it gets cold and it gets dreary, there's not a whole lot to do in the wintertime. So I mean, you drink. So
that is part of it. There definitely is a part of that where it's like.
But I'll tell you now, if you like that German, Norwegian food, Wisconsin's the best place in the world.
You mean gray?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be
German. I mean, some of the most authentic German food I've ever had in my life has come from up there. It's amazing. Right. The state fair up there, best state fair I've ever been to. period.
Yeah, our state fair kicks every other state fair's ass.
What's the big Summerfest we went to? Is it called Summerfest?
It is called Summerfest.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, Summerfest.
That was killer. That was a fun time.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
they've
huge
changed it a bit though. It used to be the big
Really?
long 10-day festival, so you'd have bands every night. Now it's 3 weekends, and it's lost a lot of its charm.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yep. So
That's nice. So Rob, I lived there when Harley Davidson celebrated their 100th birthday.
okay, so fairly recent,
and that was fantastic. Except here's the thing: you get all these Harley Davidson guys, right? Leather bikes, big old beards, all these things. Guess who they got? The headliner was a secret. They didn't tell anybody who the headliner was.
Shoot, I forgot.
Guess who the headliner was? Think about badass motorcycles. Right?
I know.
So I'm thinking, fucking, they're bringing in ZZ Top. They're bringing in Metallica. They fucking brought in Elton John.
It was Elton John. Yeah, that's what I thought.
No joke,
Man.
Like half crowd left when they announced it was going to be Elton John. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
Right? Nothing wrong with Elton John, but
no, the problem was they weren't thinking.
Yeah, it's called not knowing your market.
Right?
Wrong crowd.
Everybody was so shocked.
Well,
So Rob,
Go ahead. I'm reading a book right now called The Daily Stoic, and shit, what the fuck's this called? Doesn't matter. But in there, they talk about Harley Davidson in particular and how much market share Harley's, lost because they made the 43-year-old freaking accountant feel and look tough because of their bikes versus actually marketing to their audience.
yeah.
Right. And so they've lost a ton of market share to the custom bikes and, Indian and some of the other big bike manufacturers.
So Rob, I promise to tell you a real quick Wisconsin story. I lived up there for 4 or 5 years. About my 3rd or 4th year, and I thought I knew how to drink until I got there, and I didn't know shit. So I'm in Atlanta at a conference. I'm at a bar in between exhibits, and me and my buddy get a couple beers. The bartender asked if I wanted another beer, and I said yes. He grabs my empty bottle, spins around to throw it in the trash can and grab me another one, spins back around, puts my empty bottle right back in front of me and goes, "You're from Wisconsin." And my buddy looks at me and he goes, "Do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "No, do I know you?" And he goes, "No, but your empty bottle is still cold." He said, "Are you from Wisconsin?" I'm like, "I'm not from there, but I live there." And he goes, "I knew it." He goes, 90% of the time, if the empty bottle is still cold, you're from Wisconsin.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how bad it is.
Wow.
Or, I mean, that's how good it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember going to a house in Wisconsin and like the trash can looked like it was an entire college dorm, but it was 2 guys drinking. I mean, just the amount of cans. It's like Andre the Giant breaking a Guinness World Record, but on a Monday night in Wisconsin, And
my wife's dad and my wife's uncle, 6'6" and 400 pounds, like Andre the Giant.
That's a big man.
And he drink 2 cases of Miller Genuine Draft a night.
like it's going that style.
Like absolutely nothing.
So, all right, Peyton,
trying to keep up with that. Ain't gonna happen.
Let's run that game. All right.
Emojis.
What?
Emoji quiz. What?
Emoji quiz.
Keith, what the hell are you saying?
I said, "What's an emoji quiz?"
And you just, I give you emojis and you have to try and guess what the movie is.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Lion
Lion
King,
King.
obviously.
Yeah, simple. Keith, I expect you to have a hard time with this game, actually.
Twister.
Tornado door bitch.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Wow, look at Rob.
Hang on. How'd you get the Wizard of Oz?
How come the chick from the Never-Ending Story is down with a tornado? She got the little diamond.
Explain the Wizard of Oz to me out of this. I don't get
The
it.
tornado.
What's the door?
I assume it's like the man behind the curtain, but ChatGPT said this, and I said, I'll take it. I'll let everybody else figure it out. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Rob figured it out like it was fucking.
Initially, I thought it was Twister because that opening scene
That's what
where
I
they're
said.
hiding in the underground, but no, with Wizard Dorothy on the end.
I really thought it was Tornado door bitch.
That's the
Oh, yeah.
princess from Never.
Tornado door
Ghostbusters.
bitch.
Who are you gonna call?
Tornado door bitch has got me still. That's funny.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park.
Not sure what that dinosaurs are trying to do, but
One's trying to
They're
catch the other one and
escaping? I don't know. Oh, hey.
Oh,
E.T.
it's not ET, is it? Can't be.
Damn.
Have
Okay.
any of you guys seen Resident Alien?
No.
It's
Yeah.
an
I've seen
ongoing
that.
series.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fucking scenes in there is
It's
when the
good.
guy who's the alien, they talk about E.T. He goes, "Oh, E.T.'s so sexy." I mean, and the way he does it and his voice and everything, I about lose my shit.
Yeah, that dude's
but-
fucking funny. Me and Genevieve
he-
started that show last night. It's really good.
It's really and the guy does a ton of voices you would recognize as like cartoons and whatnot. He's like famous for that, and he just plays that role so awesome.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, so check it out. It's fucking funny.
It's hilarious. Finding Nemo.
Yep.
Yeah, Finding Nemo.
Batman and Rob.
Donnie, looking
Dark
for
Knight.
Ooh, exactly. The Dark Knight. I would have accepted both. Yeah.
How
But
did
it
you
is the Dark Knight?
How'd you get the Dark
Knight specifically?
Because the villain is
It's Joker.
it's the more recent thing, thinking of what ChatGPT would go, the villain is the Joker in that case. You could have also, I suppose, gone
Dude,
with
my
Batman
mind was
and
still
Bruce
looking
Wayne.
at pictures, and his ass has jumped all the way to the Joker was in the latest movie, and
I never made it to the bat. I'm looking at that dude thinking that's Donnie in cosplay.
Dress up.
So Donnie looks like it fair. Moving on.
Willy
Willy
Wonka, and the
Wonka.
Chocolate Factory.
It's like Willy Wonka or Charlie. Yeah. They fit.
Some kid, yeah.
So yeah, Kid in the Chocolate Factory.
Up.
Wait, is it up?
It's down, actually. Donnie.
Favorite Disney movie of
That
all
movie is
time.
so sad. The first 10 minutes. Oh my god! Should have called it down.
Yeah, it is.
But that's Disney. Every
Disney-
beginning of every Disney
Disney
movie.
just loves
Disney
killing
movie.
off moms. I
The
mean,
Death
yeah.
of Harambe. Oh wait, that's not a movie.
That's not that one. Disney loves killing
This
off
is,
moms, you said?
yes. Disney has a
they
thing
do.
of just whacking
Next
moms.
one is King Kong versus Gojira.
I don't see Gojira.
Gojira is behind the building.
Uh,
He's hiding.
I want to see King Kong versus Jurassic Park.
ooh, this is actually
Men in Black.
Men in Black.
No. not
Um,
Men
Gotta
in
be
Black.
James
James
Bond.
Bond.
Yeah, it's
007.
Yeah, James Bond 007. That was it.
the sunglasses.
Threw it off.
Probably should have been a gun.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. They took away the
ChatGPT won't
emoji.
give you a gun emoji.
No.
Yeah, they took away the gun emoji. That's all of them for this morning.
That's kind
Oh.
of fun.
That's fine.
Icebreaker.
Something to wake up to.
So, all right.
Nice.
Well,
So next time we play that game, you can only give wrong answers.
all right. Roll back through them and
I'll write that one down.
roll that beautiful.
This is Robb Conlon, owner of Westport Studios. Founded in 2020, Westport Studios specializes in B2B podcasts that create content for your ideal prospective clients. Robb will also be speaking on stage this year at the Badass Business Summit in September of 2024. And today, he gets the hot seat with the Success Champions team.
Anybody else think it's funny that Peyton's reading that and then Rob opens his mouth? Like, I mean,
I
it's like
know.
this oxymoron that Peyton's introducing
I
Rob.
thought he did a very nice job.
And he sounded
Oh,
just like that.
God.
Too. I thought he did a good job. Rob, brother, welcome to the show, my friend. I know this is the second time we've had you on here. The first time
That's
was
good to see
really
you
more interview style. This time we're going to put you in the hot seat and see if we can make you cry a little bit. So what's the biggest thing we can do to help you, or introduce yourself first, and then what's the biggest thing we can do to help grow your business?
Sure. I guess number one, hi everybody. I'm Robb Conlon, Westport Studios. You guys heard the bio. I really enjoy the podcasting world, and it's one of those things where I've seen the power of that for business, and that's what my world is all about now. It's fantastic. So, I love meeting new people. This kind of networking thing. I never thought this could be such a fun thing, not just from this kind of like, oh my gosh, we're on a podcast or whatever it might be, but the other parts of like, I just really enjoy meeting people now, which is so cool. So the issue I had today, and I think we got probably time for two, because I think Keith said we might tackle both of them. The first one is everything's a subscription. Like, overhead is killing me, and it's one of those things where it's like, I want to do something with my business, but it's like, you can't just buy this software anymore for $100. No, it's a recurring $99 a month. Blah 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 blah. It just eats me alive. I hate it. Now I have to, little caveat here. I run my business on a retainer. I do. It is technically a subscription, but like, everything is a subscription. It just drives me bonkers, and it's like, I feel like I can't grow a business without like taking 10 or 12 new subscriptions out for stuff. It's ridiculous. So
Yeah,
let's workshop that first.
Yeah, it's painful. Even for us.
Let's recap what he said. I hate subscriptions, so I'm going to do it to my clients. Did I get that right?
No.
All
Right. Oh, I mean, but in truth, the whole model, they call it the Netflix model, because they're really kind of the ones that coined it. But the idea is, it's a small enough rate that most times you'll forget about it. You know, and that's the thing. I can tell you, I've tried programs that will go in and find all your subscriptions and help you cancel them and the like. And I've only found one surefire way to do it. Literally pull them all out, your statement out, and go through it line item by line item and go, okay, what is this expense? What is this expense? What is this expense, to get rid of them? And some of them, they're almost impossible to cancel. Like, they're going to jump you through 1,200, things. So some of the things that I've done outside the business, and we'll talk about inside the business, is now I will only subscribe to like a Hulu or Paramount or anything if there's a specific show that we want to watch. Otherwise, we turn off the subscriptions, right? So we're doing it as needed basis on there. So which allows us to not have so many subscriptions running at once. The other thing that I'm doing is we're looking for software that consolidates 3 or 4 programs into one. It's one of the reasons we stay with a god-awful, horrible, and piece of shit program called Entreport. I fucking hate everything about it. But it consolidates several freaking programs together and makes our entire company function like you wouldn't believe. So
thanks for
sponsoring.
Summit. Hopefully you don't see this until after the summit.
Right. It's an amazing program. It just, because we have such a unique business model, we're taking it to the extreme. But because of it, we're able to eliminate several other subscriptions we would have to have the company function. So,
okay, because that's where I'm running into this. I'm trying to double up on this stuff too. And it's like, I just feel like every time I need to do something with the business, I need to somebody's got their hand out. And it's like, I don't want to give you the money, dude. Like, I'm so sick of this. Like, and a lot of these are ones that you mentioned, Donnie, that you can't cancel them necessarily, because you need to have it available either ongoing or it's something that is like maintaining somebody's show. Like, and this is not throwing any shade at my favorite distribution service for podcasting, Ausha. I love you folks. They're fabulous. They're from Paris. I love them. But they are like, it's one of those things where that if that isn't paid, my customer's show isn't out in the world. And it's this terrible thing of, well, there's another subscription for the pile, and I can't necessarily cancel it because that's what my customer needs.
So on that one in particular, how many shows are you hosted on that one platform?
So we are hosting about a dozen right now, including my own. But it's one of those things where right now everybody basically pays for their own, which is great, but it's such a frustrating thing and I gave Ausha as an example. They're actually the one vendor I work with that I'm not mad at about it, because it makes sense. But it was a good example to show, like, it's for every single customer consistently needs it. Canva would be another great example. Is that I need Canva every day.
Yeah.
But for 5 minutes. And it's like, ugh. Now, granted, Canva's not that expensive, but it all stacks up. And that's one of the things where I just, I do the accounting for my business, and overhead, my wife asks me, she does the books for me, and she goes, another subscription, another subscription, another subscription, another subscription. Like, yep. Square with payroll. God, I'm getting rid of those guys. So that's it just seems, I feel like I'm getting nickeled and dimed through the entire business.
You've taken a minute to go and look at what all these monthly subscriptions cost you on an annual basis?
I have, and it's really ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it is. But if you take it onto an annual basis and you set up an annual budget, right? Say, okay, I'm going to spend $5,000 a year on these subscriptions, and then maybe that'll make it a little bit easier in your mind that it's still an annual subscription. You're just breaking it up into 12 payments.
Yeah.
All
of our big subscriptions, Entreport, Circle, all of them have a pay outright option.
And I try to use those as much as I can.
As much as possible. And something like on the podcast, have you ever looked into like Captivate where you can host all the shows?
I didn't know they did that. That's interesting.
So Captivate.fm I used, like you can host as many shows as you want on one account. Now there's the price increases based on number of overall downloads.
Yeah, I've seen their pricing model on that. I didn't want to cap my
but
on that. Yeah. So
it's, most shows aren't getting enough downloads to where you're going to bump up against it anytime soon.
The other thing too is there's a removable aspect to it. The reason everybody has their own account is so that if they are ever deciding to depart us, then it is not me holding their data and things like that. So it's crummy, if you will. So
I think you can transfer an individual show out.
Gotcha. I just know having done it in the past from other platforms, it is a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
Yeah.
To get rid of that, that's been a pain. So.
Yeah.
Would it be super expensive to find a SaaS company and create your own software to be able to do this? Change the way the other side of it participates? Is it expensive?
It's expensive. So
it's pretty
we looked at
like
first quote we got for building out the software to do everything we need to do was $300,000. I told them to take a hike. I'm sure we can find less expensive options.
Yeah, but $300,000 if you have a few hundred monthly subscribers, right?
Yeah.
Or annual subscription or whatever it is, you gotta look at the ROI. How many do you need to make that back? You say 300,000 like it's a big number. I think at 300,000 like it's just a number. How do you make that number back is the first thing that pops into my mind. But you could have thrown out $1.7 million. It's still just a number, right? How do you work backwards and say how do you eat an elephant, right? So
one bite at a time.
Then you put a plan together that says, okay, we need this many subscribers on an annual basis to cover this nut 24 months.
But also if you run a subscription model that has a low end, it's a lot more volume of members.
Selling donuts and selling coffee is different than selling, boutique services and things like that. That's one of the big challenges of making something like that. So I've definitely thought that direction, but
and at the end of the day, expenses are going to be necessary in the business one way or another, right? So, I mean, you just got to figure out ultimately how you cover all of those costs through your subscription model, right? If you have 50 people that you're working with, you break down those annual numbers into 50, and now that is, your expense for each one of those clients.
And I don't see this monthly whole thing going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's that monthly recurring revenue that everybody loves. Everybody's chasing.
Shouldn't your prices change to according? You have to go with market demand too. So
just
because your prices go up does not mean the market will handle the increase as well.
Correct. And to that too, I didn't see who actually posted that. I didn't see there was a name. But there with that particular thing, we're like right in this really nice little sweet part of the market where we're not the most expensive, we're not the least expensive. So we right now don't have the ability to upgrade what we do to justify that price raise in this case. We've gotten quite good at what we do, but we are not the premium offering in our space. So if we decided to throw 50-60% onto our price, we'd be bilking our customers, which is just not right. So
right. The other thing that I really like, a program like Descript knocked out. Yep, it knocked out Otters. We no longer needed Otter. Yep. It knocked out Grammarly. We no longer needed that. There was just so many functions that it did. So I'm constantly on the lookout for what are my consolidation programs.
Right. And I spent $300 a month on Descript. It's ridiculous.
It's freaking awesome.
It's an awesome program. It really is. But it's just lowering those overhead costs as much as we can to just keep.
Stop worrying about lowering your costs and start worrying about raising your overall sales, so that it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that's the path I've tried to take, Keith, and it's just one of those things where it's a lagging factor.
Easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff. Donnie and I have this conversation all the time. There's a lot of stuff we'd like to do at SCN.
Sure,
but it costs money. Yeah, right. It'd be nice to cover that cost before we actually go pay for it. So it's not an easy. That's a great question you posed this morning. It's not an easy thing to answer.
No,
correct.
I feel like we just talk circles around it.
Yeah, we haven't really come up with a solution. And consolidation softwares, I mean, we use them. We use, we have 3 or 4 main programs, but there are things that you can't consolidate. You can't consolidate your podcast hosting into your project management. There is not a platform that exists that does that, to my knowledge. Now, again, maybe there is something way out there, but these aren't things that are common bedfellows. So
I would tell you, give Captivate enough time. They're probably the fastest innovator from a hosting standpoint. And the guy who runs that's a really cool dude. But
gotcha. I've had a terrible sales experience with them, so I was really they came at me with an offer for a platform that was way out of my league, and it's like, why are you wasting my time? So
read the market, buddy. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Yes. They thought I was far bigger than
had high hopes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he wasn't a kid. He was older than me. So didn't do his research.
Too funny.
But yeah.
Cool. What was the second topic you had there, bud?
The other one of these we were talking about earlier was culture building at a remote business. So I had a very almost one of a kind business experience when I learned a lot of the stuff that I learned to start my business. I used to work for a company, it's town over here, and they are going to be $1 billion company this next year. I was employee number 38 out of, they have 1,000 now. And it was one of those things where the guy who founded this, he did so in a very similar way that I did. He started from almost nothing. He sacrificed his own business, his own, small engineering firm to build this much larger thing. And what he was able to do was he was able to create a membership-based organization with about 700,000 or 800,000 members now, all paying him somewhere between $30 and $50 a month. That's a lot of freaking money. But what he didn't do was he didn't go be, Jeff Bezos or, Elon Musk and hoard all of that money into his coffers. Yes, the man is very wealthy, but he shared it with us. He shared it with us by educating us, his employees, by investing in us, by giving us incredible benefits and giving us amazing experiences. And I've had that experience, and I want to pull that to my team, but I'm having trouble communicating what it takes because we had to, for lack of a better term, not act a certain way, but there was a price to pay to be treated that well. As in, if Tim, his name is Tim, if Tim said, "Hey, I'd like you guys to read this book," we ripped through that book as fast as we could because we believed in what he was driving, basically. And I'm having trouble at the early part of my business journey establishing that for folks of hey, we are going places. And if we follow this sort of blueprint, we will all do very well. But there's a level of engagement, a level of belief that I haven't established yet. And I'm not sure how to fix that with where I'm at, when my biggest struggle this year is to take my 1099 employees and potentially convert them into W-2s. So that is, yeah, how to drink the Kool-Aid. That's actually probably a really great way to say this. So thank you, commenter. I appreciate you tremendously. The how to drink the Kool-Aid, and what's the recipe for that?
So phenomenal question. First, you have to be the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
So one thing that I continue to find as we build out Success Champions is people end up doing what I do. And so the things that I'll talk about, the things that I'll show up, like I talk about LinkedIn. Now more and more people are doing LinkedIn. I talk about, doing guesting on podcasts. More and more people are guesting on podcasts. So one of the things that I'm going to start doing is start actually recommending particular books to read and the likes. But it's taken a long time for people to see the results of my action before they lean in. The second thing I've noticed is we're still young in the game, right? So, the finding the people who buy into the overall vision and mission of what we're doing has taken a lot of work. How many bought goats? A couple.
Still waiting on that turnaround, maybe. Who knows?
Right. But I mean, I think we're in a cool tipping point to where we've had great, phenomenal people working for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're now getting people that are more mission driven than we've had in the past. So I'd be curious to know, and this is not an attempt to get you to bash on your employees. I'm not trying to do that, but how many of your employees could actually tout the overall mission of the company?
That's a good question.
Right?
That's a good question.
So because we're looking at it now, and it's the difference between a COO I had in the past and the COO I have now. The COO I had in the past just did a job, right? And I truly believe that if the company went away, they wouldn't care to continue to try to do this particular job. The COO Jessica I have right now, she fucking loves this, right? She wants to build groups. She wants to make this go bigger and succeed. So she's literally working on the business as hard, if not harder than I am, to make this happen. I have Sharon now, who's the executive assistant coming in. Sharon's dude, she constantly, dude, I'm getting you on that damn stage. I'm getting you on that freaking podcast. We are going to make this freaking work. Give me your stuff and take it, right? So they're more mission driven. I don't know what the hell Keith does or Peyton does, but though I can say the other two.
I'm the beautiful face of this whole thing. Rob, what was that smirk?
Might want to rebrand.
So
I'm gonna make Keith cry.
I like that. Peyton, put that sentence up. Yeah.
So
one sentence. Tell them how you met.
I got one question for you, Rob.
Yeah, go ahead.
Think back when you guys were in that culture that person Tim had built for you guys. It sounds amazing. Was 100% of the people on board?
No, but it was a large enough number that they were a minority, heavy minority. And I'm talking like 90-10. Like it was, I've never ever seen, and I probably will never ever see a culture as engaged as Tim's team was and still is. I mean,
usually when it's 90-10, it's more of a cult, not a culture.
And that is,
and I know
funny. Funny that you mentioned that.
Not all cults are a bad thing.
No, I completely agree.
Right. So I'm not bashing it, but my whole point is the biggest lesson I learned being in corporate America is I had to define the culture I wanted on my sales teams, and every single person I managed was different. Right? Like if you were to tell me, if you sent out an email and said, "Hey, read this book," first thing I'd say to you is, "Go fuck yourself. You're not going to tell me what to do." Right? So I'm a little bit of a different person, but not everybody has the same personality. So I'd say, "Hey, I read this book and it changed my life, and here's why I suggest you take a look at this book." Right. So I had to learn how to come at people a different way to get them where I wanted them to be without forcing it down their throats.
So question, when it's a foundational thing like that, like I get that you're not just demanding that people read things, that's different. Right. But there were some things that were mandated reading as an employee of that company, of looking at traction and what the heck is EOS, two incredibly core books to how you run the organization. And that kind of stuff, like, it's not, again, I'm not trying to force people to do this necessarily, but like you have to.
But take something like traction as an example. Your company's nowhere near the size it needs to be to fully implement a traction model.
Correct. Yes. But laying groundwork early, in my mind, is a transition to that.
I would challenge that you may not fully have your starting lineup yet.
Okay.
Right. Where you have the people that are totally invested in the overall mission of the company, that would make sense to operate at that level. Like, there's no way I would even try and roll out traction in our company. Maybe an L10 meeting, format, possibly.
Right. We've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But all the rocks, all that other stuff, there's so many moving parts for every individual to do. Right. Trying to get them to go in their lanes and do all the stuff. It's too much mental heavy lifting at this point when there's not enough people to implement the overall process behind it. It's a really big ask.
Using SCN, it's a great example because Donnie can tell you, right? Jessica, Donnie and I talk a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Jessica and I have completely different personalities, and we respond to things 100% different to whatever Donnie. So when Donnie asks us to do something, he'll ask Jessica one way and ask me a completely different way. But he gets the same result.
100%. Or I'll look at the one and go, hey, when you talk to Keith about this, make him think it's his idea. He'll be all over it. And vice versa with Jessica, it's, hey, make sure you tell Jess she's doing a great job, then make the ask, right? So it's about knowing your players and how they function in there.
And through that process, Rob, you'll get to know your employees really, really well, right? And then when you get big enough to implement an EOS type strategy, you're going to know who's going to be on board. You're going to know who you want to be on board, right? And you can make those decisions and say, this person right here is never going to drink the Kool-Aid. Should I keep them on the team?
Right? I think that's a really good point. You may not have, to Donnie's point, your starting lineup yet, right? You have people that are capable of coming in, doing the job, doing it really well, but they may not be the ones that are truly drinking and then pouring the Kool-Aid for the next guys that are coming in. And that's okay, right? You need some role players as well. There are going to be some of those folks. They're just there, come in, do the job well, and they don't want to participate in all the rah-rah stuff. But if your goal ultimately is to build a culture, then you need to build up your bench, right? And it may not be the people that you have right now on the bench.
Okay, that's really interesting you mentioned that, Bernie, because the culture at the organization I was speaking about earlier that Tim ran, they actually went through a few, I would say, purges, which is kind of interesting. And Keith, to put on your cult label there, yeah, I think it was a little culty at some points in time. And the good thing was that people were actually like cognizant of that. It was very interesting to see people be aware that they're in something that's a little bit like, get the torches.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a foot on the brake, right? And they're getting ready to hit that brake at any moment when this guy goes past that point of no return. So, but that you think about the biggest leaders in the history of the world, they drive that fine line, right? They teeter on that line of insanity versus brilliance. So it sounds like this guy was on that line. I have no idea where it ended up, where his company ended up, or anything else, but. Once they cross that line, they become, David Koresh. And that colt goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, but most of the time, 90% of the time, they can stay on that line and continue to be. Look at a Bill Gates or what's his name, Steve Jobs.
Jobs,
guys were
or Jobs, right? But Jobs is Jobs is a Bible version of it.
How the hell would you know that?
It's like Job's 12:13 or some shit.
Oh my god,
we're completely making that up. So one of the coolest things that was ever told to me, and it really changed how I looked at the people that worked with us, is it's not my job to hold my employees and staff accountable. it's their job to hold me accountable, which is a completely different perspective.
Right.
So in looking from that regard, like Sharon has no problem yelling at me. She does that out of love, and like she's not being rude or mean, but she's like, dude, I fucking need this. And she'll never cuss because Sharon doesn't cuss, right? But she'll come at me. So she holds me more accountable than I ever have to worry about telling her what to do. Right. That's how I know I've got portions of the overall starting lineup.
Okay.
Right. And it's a whole nother level of having somebody who can do the work and somebody who completely take ownership of the work, which is a massive difference in skill set and talent. Right. So if you look at it from a perspective of people are going to buy in you first, right, then they're going to buy into the overall mission. And once you get them bought in the mission, now they'll be the ones that actually innovate in your business, because they're going to start seeing the things that will actually move the company forward.
Right. I can tell you now, most people, they want to come along for the ride, right? You got to show them what the ride's all about, right? But if you get me to buy in as an employee, I'm in, man. I'm coming along for the ride. I don't want your company. I don't want your job. I don't want anything else. I want to come along and support your vision because I believe in it.
Yeah, I personally, I like to give my team members tests from time to time as well. It's just, hey, this is what we need to get done. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Just this is the objective, and go think about it and try and figure it out. Come back to me with questions, and you'll find that the people who really gravitate towards those special projects, they're the ones that start to buy in a little bit more. They get a little bit more creative. There's other folks, they'll still, they'll go through the paces. They'll do what you're asking them to do, but they're not excited about it. They're not trying to innovate. They're just trying to get through it. But it's the ones who really take the time and buy into that project because they know that it's best for the overall organization. Those are the ones that you start adding to your starting lineup.
Gotcha. And then I think potentially that whole shift to, hey, a 1099 contractor comes in, they can stay or go or do things like that, and they don't have real skin in the game. So I think that's going to be something.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about this whole fractional thing that's taken off the world, right? Is you can bring a fractional person on, and if they're fantastic, you can beg them to stay. But if they suck, like, see ya, no hard feelings.
Right. And I'm wondering for my core team if I need to do something a little bit different than do the fractional, because fractional works. I've got, and these guys they're not really fractional anymore because they're working for me sometimes more than 40 hours a week, which is great. Which is why I'm thinking, bring them as part of the team. That's one of the things where it's very unusual to, starting people as the fractional, I think is a good idea, Keith. But I think giving them skin in the game eventually as like, hey man, you're really truly a part of this, not just, I'm not your customer technically.
It's a great litmus test both ways, right? It's a great litmus test for them to see if they're going to jive with you, and same for you, right? I mean, if you've given them tasks and completely knocking it out of the park every time, and they're buying in. I mean, right? Why wouldn't you add them to your team?
Right.
Or at least attempt to.
Got it.
I just caution giving them a portion of the company.
Oh, equity? Not at this time.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm talking more along the lines of benefits and making sure that it's a nicer, safer employment place for people to be. Equity, that's a real balancing act of I'm looking at these guys and giving them equity would be really an interesting thing. I don't know, like part of me doesn't want to give up control of my company in any fraction, even my other half. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, and equity changes the dynamic of all conversations,
yes,
all relationships, right? And it opens you up to all kinds of additional things, that can be very damn scary. So, and let's be honest, equity only plays out really is if you sell this thing,
right?
Well,
you should always build a business to sell it, though, right?
It's a good motivator, though.
Oh. Not potentially. When are they going to sell Disney?
That's a good point.
They already have a couple times, right?
It's publicly traded now, right?
Yeah, it's publicly traded, right? But not all companies need to be built to be sold. But if you do build it that way, you'll build all the systems and processes. So you'll usually build a bigger company. Through it all. What is the overall mission for your company, Rob?
That's a great question, because I can say that it is to build B2B relationships better than anybody else out there. But do I firmly, deeply, vehemently believe that? There's 1,000 other people who do what I do. But the way that we articulate that to our customers, I think needs some work.
Yeah, I would agree, because you get that right. I mean, I remember the first time I said we're going to change how the world networks. People leaned into that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right? And it's my wife's fault, because I was pissed off about running networking, and I didn't really want to be the networking guy. You know, I just thought it was kind of cheesy, because anybody that teaches networking is just a fucking idiot that can't sell. Right? That was just my mentality of looking at all this, right? And freaking Elizabeth said, dude, why don't you just change how the world networks? And I was like, oh, shit. Right. And that became, but I started telling other people, and they're like, ooh, I want to be a part of that. So I was getting client buy-in even before I had employee buy-in. Right. Interesting. So
that's why I said earlier to Rob, right? I'm like, change the way the world podcasts.
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Yeah,
I think that's not my world. But if you were to change all the things you don't like about the podcast world, the monthly subscriptions or whatever else might be, okay, what would it look like if you did it different?
And that was part of our evolution, is going, okay, change the way the world networks. Where do we start? Cool. Let's start with B2B. Now we're going to go on to other areas. But what does everybody hate about B2B networking? They hated walking into rooms with, financial advisors, realtors, right?
You mean B2C.
Huh?
You mean B2C.
What did I say wrong?
You keep saying B2B.
We are B2B.
No, but you said you started with B2B. Didn't you start with B2C?
Oh, originally, and then the economy went to shit, right? Yeah. And then once the economy went to shit and all the mortgage rates went through the roof, we lost half the network.
Yeah.
Right. But as we, started going after, okay, let's really change the B2B world, right? Then what were the things that we needed to actively change? What were the things that actually made networking suck? Right. But having that, we're going to change how the world networks, okay, first let's fix B2B, which I'm trying to say. And then where do we go next? What's the next thing we do after we get B2B completely dialed into? Maybe it is going in and teaching high schoolers or college kids how to network. Who knows? But this gives us an overall mission to tackle that other people can buy into and go, I want to help make that happen.
Got it. Okay. So that's definitely now a Q3 rock.
If you guys want to see a one-man traction, Rob's got it.
I do use it for myself. I do use it for myself because it keeps me accountable. I don't use every aspect of it, but it's one of those things where I feel that to keep myself accountable to me and also to my team, because you can say, hey man, I completed these 6 things this quarter to make your company better. I think that that's something that, can also prove that, I think like you guys were saying that, that there's Kool-Aid to be drank, if you will, or the reliability of drinking that Kool-Aid, if you will. And again, Keith, I think you nailed it, is that the word cult is a part of culture. And I think you have to be really careful about that.
There's a fine line there, man. So
there is.
It's a fine line.
Yeah, but
there was times throughout my career I would follow somebody off a cliff. And if I look back on it now, and I'm like, there's no way in a million years if I follow that person off that cliff ever again. Right? So you sometimes when you're young, you buy into these ideas and these things. And now I think I have a little bit more wisdom to take a step back and spend some time and put some actual thought into, okay, where is this going? What are we doing, and why? What's the end goal?
And you don't have this problem, Rob, but I did really much early on where it was more about me. Like I wanted to be the limelight, right? I wanted to be out front, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
Right. So
nothing's changed.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, actually. I still want to be the guy on stage. I still want to be the guy talking, but I want to see them win more. trick with the difference between being a cult and a culture is the cult. The guy has to be the limelight. He has to be the sole reason they're there. Right. And, there was a huge organization. I won't say their name, but recently they let go of their COO and they lost 90% of their network. They didn't realize how much that COO was the culture setter and not the CEO. And it was wild to watch happen, and the dynamics of it all. So, but we've covered all kinds of stuff here today, Rob. We solved one problem and we gave you another problem.
You're welcome.
Right.
You know what, though? At the same time, you guys did give me a ton of stuff to think about, as well as like realizing that, as much as we've kind of had this incredible upward trend over the past 2.5 years that I've been in business, we're still kind of a baby. And I think sometimes I might be trying to run before I can walk or crawl. And that I think, you mentioning the whole thing about traction, guys, this is like, hey, maybe you're not ready for this yet. And that's okay. like that's actually okay. So, but thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what are some of kind of the big takeaways that you're going to implement now moving forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just watching how folks perform as we move into 2025. I have a very small team, but I really do believe in making sure that they're well taken care of and that they're given a position in this organization that they really want to contribute to. And I think the number one thing for me is to make sure that is there, is that there is skin in the game for them, not necessarily from an equity standpoint, but from a benefits, from all sorts of, pack the package more than just a paycheck, if you will. And that I think is number one. And I think that there's a couple things I need to do on my end to encourage and ensure that can be done. Just making sure revenue is right where it is so we can do that. The subscription thing, I guess I feel so frustrated with it because it's one of those things where it's like, I would love to change this, but I don't think I can, if you will. So maybe it's one of those things you just don't worry about. And I think there's a lot of positivity to that as well, of like, there are some things that I can't change at all, as far as, if I need to, Descript charges me $1 an hour or whatever it might be to do it. Like, I can't change that rate at all. I can only change how much I use the platform, and the more we use it, the better, because that means we're having more business. So it might just be the cost of doing business and the overhead for the company that gets us going. So that's some of the key takeaways here, but also the culture piece that you guys just helped me understand is the fact that, in the cultures I've come from, the one thing that the person at the top of them hasn't been is the center of attention. And we just arrived at here in the last few minutes. And I try not to be the center of attention, but when you run a very small organization, sometimes that shifts onto you just because there's nobody else. And so I think that's a very good thing to watch for. And I think it's a very good thing to try to build the organization to shift the attention to a mission rather than a person. And that was something that now that I realize that Tim's company, as we talked about it, really had in spades. So he had a well-defined mission. I can still recite it to this day, which is wild.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's great.
And when you can do that, that's when you've got it right. Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Bud. Guys, let's go through with new announcements. What events and things do y'all have coming up? Any workshops?
So I'll go first. We have a big event coming up in DFW. Chad King and I went last week and secured the venue for our first annual barbecue competition here in Fort Worth. We're doing a sport and a charity. We'll make all the announcements with the dates, but it looks like it's going to be this Saturday after the summit. We're loading in barbecue teams on Friday night so they can cook all night. There'll be competition starting at noon. We have a celebrity judges that will be coming in. For those of you guys that know Matt Pittman from Meat Church, sounds like Matt is going to come in and be a judge. My buddy Kevin Mensch from the Texas Rangers will be a judge, and then the radio host from 95.9 The Ranch is going to broadcast live from the event, and we'll use him as a judge as well. So we're hoping to get about 20 to 25 barbecue teams out there. We've got an entire football field size behind a distillery in Fort Worth and a stage big enough to put Pearl Jam on it.
What are the dates you're looking at, Keith? The Saturday after
I think Saturday, September 28th, I think is the tentative date. We're just waiting for the distillery to get back to us and make sure that date is okay. But it looks like that's going to be it. So once we announce it officially, then we'll start advertising. But it's going to be advertised on all the country radio stations here in Fort Worth once it starts.
So you're saying I need to stay in Texas another week after?
I know.
I
was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, dang it, is it not the 21st? Like, I will change that for a day. I will totally do it and come home Sunday instead of Saturday.
I told Chad, I said, there's no way, because then loading out Friday night.
And then turn around trying to.
I said, you got to give me at least, that next weekend. So pretty sure, 99% sure it's going to be the 28th. We got some really cool things. But I mean, I'm so excited about Matt Pittman being there from.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's the coolest thing on the planet. So
that's awesome. Barney, what events you got coming up?
I got a bunch of private stuff this week, but next week I've got a couple coming up. One of them is actually with SCN guy John Browning. He's doing an event building the life you want with building the life you love with money. So he's a financial advisor. We're doing a workshop together. And then another one of my clients is putting together a C-suite roundtable on the 22nd. So I've got those posted on LinkedIn.
Awesome. We have a new chapter launching. Brandon Thornton's group, Coffee for Closers. They're launching on Thursday, 8:30 in the morning in Southlake. So that's awesome. A bunch of different workshops coming up, but the biggest one is the Badass Business Summit coming up September 18th through the 20th. We only have 10 VIP tickets left for that, guys. So
I think there's actually only 8 left now.
Is there only 8 left? All right.
Yeah.
So they are moving. So those are going to be fixing to be sold out.
Stoked for that. Stoked for fucking Jerry.
And look, we got two of our speakers right here on camera right here with Robb and Bernie. So
yeah. So
cool.
it's going to be a hell of a time. So, but get your tickets quickly, because now that we're within almost 30 days, this is when all the tickets will freaking fly off the shelves. So they will move fast. So if you haven't got your tickets, get your tickets. Go to badassbusinesssummit.com. Ticket prices will go up in the next couple weeks. So as we get closer, so you're going to want to move on that. And then we do this every Monday, 8:00 Central, where we bring on one of the SCN members most times, and we put them in the hot seat, try and help them on their business. And usually it's a good school for us, where we get to learn as we try and give advice and feedback to others, and of course Bernie learns every week because he just sits here and stares at the camera.
I contributed today. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
I want that shirt. I want that shirt
too.
We're gonna make that happen.
Please make that shirt.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. That's awesome. Well, y'all go have a badass week. Robb, thanks for joining us, brother, and we'll catch everybody next week. Love you, man.
Good seeing you, Robb.
Always great to see you, gents. Take care.